Our panel's ready to talk all about the Mag 7. You love them? You hate them? Well, let's see. Because you don't hate them. You don't hate anything. Hate's not nice. But the truth of the matter is you're seeing a lot of names hitting new highs. So let's get to the pros. Rebecca Walser, president of Walser Wealth Management, and Matt Tuttle, CEO, CIO, Tuttle Capital Management. So glad you're both with me here today. Rebecca, I'll start with you. Big picture, NVIDIA's been a name that you've liked. You've been right on. It continues to hit new highs. Tell me about your big picture on these names.
Yeah, well, they're both, all Mag 7s are really facing tailwinds that are going to push them to the ultimate, of everything, which is basically cloud computing and AI. And so they all have opportunities. Obviously, I would say the two worst performers of this breath right now, I'm going to call it, are Apple and Tesla. And that's Tesla's kind of morphing into other things, robo-taxi. And Apple obviously is facing a lot of headwinds with tariffs, Chinese supply chain, all those things. But the rest of the others have done quite well besides just NVIDIA,
right,
on that space. And there's as Microsoft with Azure and its OpenAI partnerships. There's a lot of good little indicators on a lot of things. Google, I would say, would be also someone that's going to be a little bit on the hurting side because they are going to have a direct competition on their Boolean search with all of the ChatGPT and OpenAI and all these things that are taking away just direct search engines. But the good thing with Google is they have low price earnings ratios, and so they still have some room to grow. So overall, all of Mag 7, I think, will do well in this space, but we've got some issues.
So obviously feeling a little more positive than negative there. Matt, how do you feel about the group overall? I mean, Rebecca's saying more tailwinds than headwinds at this point. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree to an extent there. So I don't love them. I like them. Markets are new highs unless Trump tweets something else about tariffs. And so, there are a ton of tailwinds, 40 cents of every dollar pretty much that goes in the indexes go in these names. Apple, we do have a 2X ETF for. That's the only one that I don't personally own. I think Apple has the potential to be a massive winner in AI. Right now, they do have some issues. Tesla is one I like. I know that is the most hated of the names. I don't look at it as a car company. I look at it more as robotics, and you can't bet against Elon Musk. So I like them here.
So you're betting on Elon Musk and more of the AI story. They have the humanoids, they have energy for Tesla. Apple is the one that it seems that all of our guests today have stayed away from Apple. Let's talk more about them, some of these names specifically. Let's get to NVIDIA, for example. That is a name that has been pushing up against highs. What do you think continues is the catalyst to propel NVIDIA higher?
Well, it's obviously their monopoly, almost monopolistic on their chips, obviously, as we know. But we really see like a 180 price target for them in the next 6 months, and they're at 157-ish right now. Obviously, to his point, we did hit all-time highs, a lot of positive momentum until Trump tweeted about Canada, right, and a pause on their talks. This is what we're facing, Nicole. We're at the fourth industrial revolution. We're at the point of monetization on a lot of these names, and then we've got this tariff policy with Trump. So I think that people just have to accept it. It's going to be a little bit volatile, and that's okay because we are still in the process of monetization for the fourth industrial revolution.
Right, understood. Yeah, we have a termination of talks with Canada right now that's happening. We'll see what happens. We did get good news pertaining to the EU today. But Matt, when you look at the names, what about a name like Microsoft? We haven't talked much about that.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft, so we write a daily newsletter and we talk about investment themes. And we're looking at, what are the top themes and who are the winners? And Microsoft shows up as number 1 or 2 in just about every theme we're looking at. So I think Microsoft is a stock you've got to own. Are you going to get a ton of alpha from owning Microsoft? No, you're not. But, it's a stock you've got to own. It is across all areas right now of AI.
Understood. I mean, what about Netflix? Should that have been, it was in FANG originally, and then we did the Mag 7 and Netflix was left behind. Do either of you think Netflix should have been in the Mag 7 and should be Mag 8? Either one of you?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think
Okay,
the one thing I love about the Mag 7 is there's so much tied to AI. Netflix is just an entirely different business.
I see.
Until they
Okay,
can put
what
us
do
in
you
there
think?
in the story as an avatar, then
Yeah,
we'll bring Netflix
so
in.
not enough AI.
Not enough AI
story for it to
necessarily
be
yet.
Is there
Yeah.
a different name that you think should have gone in there?
But that has the market capacity and breadth, and I don't think I can't think of one off the top of my
Right,
head right
right.
now. Yeah.
And how about you, Matt? I mean, would there have been another name that, I mean, a lot of folks like what AMD's been
Yeah.
doing. Does that go in there?
Another chip maker.
No, I mean AMD. I mean lately it's been doing well, but that was a laggard for so long. You know, I would agree. I can't think of another name that's there right now. We'll have to wait for
Yeah.
Kramer to come up with something.
So then, when you think about the headwinds that could hit this group, I mean, it sounds like, and Patrick Mueller, by the way, who was on with us earlier today, he liked most of these names. He talked about Alphabet, Google, that was one that he liked too, NVIDIA, but he said maybe no Apple. So when we think about the headwinds to these names, Matt, what is something that could be hitting the group overall?
So I think the headwinds are more macro. There's still so much to be figured out on these tariffs. As we've seen, Trump can kind of pivot. You know, he sends out a tweet about China and this thing comes crashing down. You know, so we've got that. We had weak GDP. We got to see what that's all about. I think we're going to see a coup at the Fed and the Fed's going to cut, or I think they're going to cut more aggressively than we think. But if that doesn't happen, so I think the headwinds right now are macro uncertainty.
Yeah. And cuts would help. I mean, every time rates go lower, that does help the tech group overall. Final thoughts?
I would say, Nicole, I would just add to what Matt's point was, is that we have a lot of debt being refinanced Q3 and Q4 from 2020, all of the coronavirus stimulus that started. And so we need to have some cuts, because to refinance the debt that we wrote at such low rates on 25 basis points, now at the much higher 4.25 is a big problem.
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about. So we'll continue to focus on that story.
Liquidity.
And that's something that Trump has focused on. I mean,
We need
that when
liquidity.
they have the U.S. debt, they want to be able to refinance at a lower rate because they got it for next to nothing, right? So
Exactly.
there you have it. Good to see you both, Matt Tuttle and also Rebecca Walser. Thank you.